and Clark and me.
The year is 1803. Lewis and Clark are planning their expedition to explore their territory west of the Mississippi River. Lewis is looking for a dog to accompany the expedition, and as the story opens, he meets a 150-pound Newfoundland dog named Seaman, who goes on to tell of their adventures. Seaman, I glanced at the man beside me. Look alive, here spires. Something caught my attention behind him. Down the wharf, a group of men, but I saw only one. It was Lewis. He was a full-head taller than the other men I had known on the docks, and he was dressed in a different way. White breeches and a short blue coat with buttons that shine on the sun. A tall pointed hat with a feather made him look even taller. Lewis walked along the dock with a large stride. There was a purpose about him. My life on the wharves was good, but I was a young dog and yearned for me. At the time, I didn't know exactly what. I sensed that this man was part of what I wanted. I sat straighter as he approached. The man who owned me stood straighter too. Lewis slowed. Need a dog, sir? My man asked. I'm looking, Lewis replied. He stopped down and looked me right in the eye. I wagged my tail and stepped forward. I wanted to sniff the strange man. He extended his hands for me. He didn't smell like any I have ever smelled, and it made me want to sniff him all over. Lewis scratched the back of my neck where I'd like to be scratched. I'm headed out west up the Missouri River, Lewis said. My man's face brightened. This dog be perfect, sir. This dog be perfect, sir. These dogs can swim. Newfoundlands, they call them. Rescue a drowning man in rough water or in a storm. Look at these paws. You won't find another dog with paws like that. They're webbed. He spread my toes to show the webbing. So they are, Lewis replied. Lewis began feeling my chest and hind quarters. His hands were large and muscular. Waters roll off this coat, my man added. He pulled up a handful of my thick, dense double coat. Lewis examined my coat and nodded. I know the Mississippi, sir, but I don't know the Missouri, my man asked. It's off the Mississippi, heading northwest. North, you say? It will be cold up the river. Won't bother this one, though. He patted me firmly on the back. Lewis stood and looked around. He faced a piece of wood that had broken off of a crate. He showed it to me, then threw it. Go, he said. I wanted to go. I wanted to do whatever this man asked, but I belonged to another. I looked at my man. Go on, he said. I ran for the stick and returned it to Lewis. How much? Lewis asked. $20, and a bargain at that. Lewis looked down at me. I lifted my head proudly. Won't find a better dog than this. Perfect for your trip, my man said, trying to convince Lewis. It wasn't necessary. Lewis looked at me. I could tell he had liked me the minute he saw me. The feeling of The feeling was mutual. Lewis paid my man $20. Does he have a name? Lewis asked. I've been calling him Seaman, but you can call him anything you like. Come on, Seaman, Lewis called. As he walked away, my rope in his hand, he put his other hand on my head. After that, he didn't need a rope. I would follow this man to the ends of the earth. The dog was of the Newfoundland breed, one that I prized much for his docility and qualifications. Generality for my journey. Mother Lewis, November 16th, 1803.
I caught fish off the docks. I chased animals in the wood, but hunting came alive for me on the river. The Ohio, Lewis called it. I have always loved the water, so the day we boarded the boat and pushed out onto the Ohio was just about the happiest day of my life. Lewis was excited too. I could tell by the way he walked, and his voice was louder than usual. The men were also excited. I could hear it in their voices. They didn't complain when they loaded the boat. Lewis was telling them what to load and how to load it. Anyway, that afternoon, Lewis and I and some men started down the river. I rode in the back of the boat. It was the highest place and gave me the best view. From there, I could scan both banks and the water with just a glance. The first 2 weeks, I couldn't get enough of it. They were animals I had not seen before, smells I had not smelled. My skin tingled with excitement. The river was low, and the men had to pull much on the way. When they weren't pulling, they were digging channels for our boat or hiring oxen to pull the boat from the shore. We were only a couple of weeks down the river when I had my first great day of hunting. The river wasn't quite as shallow as the current, not too strong, so the crew rowed along leisurely. I was lying on the back deck of the boat. I had just scanned the shore. Nothing of interest, just a few beaver and a deer. I decided to close my eyes for a nap. I blinked a few times and was ready to lay my head down on my paws when something on the water up ahead caught my eye. I stuck my nose in the air and sniffed. I recognized the scent. Immediately, squirrel. A squirrel on water that was unusual. I had seen plenty of squirrels, but I had never seen one swim. There was something else strange. The smell of squirrel was especially strong. I had never known one squirrel to project so powerful scent. I stood to take a look. Right away, I spotted a squirrel off the starboard side. He was swimming across the river. Another squirrel followed close behind. Without a second thought, I leaned over the side of the boat to get a better look. I saw another squirrel and another. I could not believe my eyes. Hundreds of squirrels were crossing the river. The water up ahead was almost black with them. Every muscle in my body tightened to full alert. Lewis was on the other side of the boat talking to two of the men. I turned to him and barked. "What is it?" he asked. It is impossible to describe the urge I felt. It was as strong as anything I had ever known. I had to get those squirrels. I barked again. Lewis scanned the water ahead. "Look at that," he said to the men. "Squirrels crossing the river. Now why don't they do that? Why would they do that?" "Food," one man suggested. Lewis paused for a moment. "There are hickory nuts on the banks, both banks." "Migrating," suggested the other. Lewis nodded. "Maybe, or perhaps, there." I barked again. They were wasting time wondering why the squirrels were crossing. It didn't matter. The squirrels were there, hundreds of them, right in the front of us. Sometimes men spend too much time thinking. They miss the fun of life.
Indians, we had not been on the shore very long before I heard Lewis say the word. Lewis and Clark and I had crossed the river to make some observance. Then that's when these Indians appeared. They were different from other people I had known, the boatmen and the safe folk. I didn't sense that Lewis or Clark were concerned, so I wasn't. The Indians seemed friendly enough. Lewis talked to them. It wasn't until later that I realized Lewis gave the same talk to every group of Indians we met. He talked about the Great White Fire in Washington. The Indians listened patiently as one of the English-speaking Indians translated. Lewis used the hand motions to help as he talked out. It became obvious to me that Indians were not interested in Lewis or what he was saying. They were staring at me. Finally, Lewis realized what was going on, and he invited the Indians to take a closer look. They gathered around. They touched me. They whispered about me. They acted like they had never seen a dog before. Then I noticed Indian dogs standing to the side. I took one look at the ill and realized why they were so interested in me. That dog could have not been more than 20 pounds. Newfoundlands can weigh up to 150 pounds. And I'm a large Newfoundland. If that scrawny dog was the only dog they had seen, then I was a strange sight indeed. Bear, one of the English-speaking Indians said. I looked up. He was pointing at me. Dog, Lewis replied patiently. He then looked at his own dog. He looked back at me. Bear, he said again. Lewis looked at me and smiled. Clark was smiling too. I lifted my head. I guess he does look like a bear, Lewis said. Lewis picked up a stick and threw it. Fetch, he said. I fetched. Stay, he said. I stayed.
Sit, he said. I sat. The Indians were impressed. Dog, Lewis said. Lewis was always nice. The Indian who called me Bear turned to consult with his friends. Finally, he turned. Bear Dog, he said with satisfaction. Lewis smiled. Yes, I guess you can call him Bear Dog. Later, George explained to us that the Indians don't have a separate word for horse. They can call a horse a dog. I guess it nonsense for them to call me Bear Dog. The Indian suddenly turned and walked toward the crowd to his horse. He pulled out 3 beaver skins. He held them toward Lewis. For Bear Dog, he said. It wasn't often that I saw Lewis surprised. He was then. I took a step closer to Lewis. Lewis looked the Indian square in the eye and said, "No trade, dog special." As we rode back to camp in the boat, Lewis said to me, 3 beaver skins, can you believe that? No, I could not. The idea that Lewis and I would ever separate was unthinkable. Not many dogs and men fit together like Lewis and I. If you have ever experienced it, then you know what I'm talking about. And if you haven't, well, it's hard to explain. All I can tell you is that when a dog and a man fit like Lewis and I did, nothing can separate them. Lewis said it best, no trade. One of Shawnee's pin-looking Indian offered me 3 beaver skins for my dog, which he appeared much pleased. Of course, there was no bargain. I had given $20 for this dog myself. Year, Lewis, November 16th, 1803.